Friends on this lovely Sunday. This is my live stream with my guest today. It's a Sunday. Let's be honest here. We are living in some pretty unusual times. We're all staying at home for very obvious reasons, and it's the right thing to do. It's a socially responsible thing to do, but that doesn't mean that we cannot connect to each other. A few online tutors have been connecting online for years, building relationships, meeting online first a lot, then in person, or sometimes not meeting at all. And today my guest is actually based in Bahrain, so we're not we're not even in the same country. And the interesting thing here will be that we'll show how to tutor online using just Zoom. So no whiteboards, no BitPaper and stuff. Yeah, I work for BitPaper. I'm biased towards BitPaper. Yeah, fair enough. But you can do this stuff. By the way, we love Zoom in BitPaper because we actually had a conversation with them 4 years ago for a collaboration. And at the time, Zoom were, we're a video conferencing software. We just want to focus on that. The whiteboard is there. That's fair enough. But that's our thing. And so BitPaper went along and developed the whiteboard, went all out. Zoom kind of went and built the system there. So we are actually friends. We have made contact back when they were both very small companies. Zoom has obviously exploded. BitPaper has been, obviously it's been growing as well. Anyway, without further ado, welcome Caroline from Bahrain.
Hey, thank you for having me on your live stream. I'm very excited. What should we start?
We're live streaming on a bunch of platforms just to on the Maths Tutors UK group, on my Twitter profile, on my Facebook page, and my YouTube channel. So if you've got any questions on any one of these channels, to be honest, I can only keep track of maybe Twitter and the Maths Tutors UK group, but just throw out your questions, anything that you have on online tutoring. And Caroline's an expert online tutor, so she's been doing this for a very long time actually. So that could be the first question we could ask for, like, what's your experience of online tutoring? What made you get into it? How long you've been doing for it, etc. Yeah.
Okay, so my background, I'm a maths teacher by training. I've got PGCE, and I taught in the classroom for a few years, and then had children. And then after about, I think when my oldest was about 8 years old, we moved out to the Middle East. And I didn't want to go back to teaching in the classroom. So I thought, well, what can I do? I started a website. It's called Maths Insider, where I was giving advice to parents who wanted to support their kids' maths, because I was surrounded by other parents who were so anxious. My kids doing poorly at maths. Can you tutor them? No, I haven't got time. I've got little kids. I can't tutor them, but I've got lots of advice. I know lots of resources. So that's basically how I started online, not tutoring online. And then from setting up that website, there was a company who kept on leaving comments in my posts. They were just spamming my website. And I was thinking, I deleted some comments, but then they reached out and said, hey, we've had quite a few customers from our comments and from your page. So would you like to do a sponsored post? So I did a sponsored post. Then they got students and they said, would you like to come on board and look after some students? And that's how I started working for an American. As a British person living in the Middle East, I started working for an American company. The world truly is flat. And they, initially, they were doing some online lessons. I was just using Skype, holding up a whiteboard, writing on the pen. But then they integrated Zoom into their software. And I was still very reluctant. This is like, no, the Skype is working. I will still do the Skype. But then they insisted, no, come on, Zoom is better. So I sat down for a weekend, as many of you maybe are doing, and learned how to use Zoom. And it was life-changing in the maths teaching sense, having my students able to see the screen at the same time, share documents, write together. So that was probably, I started using Zoom about 3 or 4 years ago. Gosh, that makes me seem old in Zoom years.
Well, Zoom veteran, yeah. I think a lot of us have been using it for a long time, and I think our experience is absolutely necessary at this point. Like, everyone is putting these newbie questions, so yeah, just go all out on Zoom, yeah.
And then I think I thought, well, there are people asking me to privately tutor, and I've always said I've got no time. But actually, as children grew up, I realized, yes, I do have some time. So now I'm tutoring only about 10 students. Most of them are the children of friends. So that's a luxury. That's really nice. Puts me in a nice position. A nice position sometimes. Sometimes there's the pressure because those are my children as well. They feel as though they're my children because they're the children of friends. Um, so yeah, this is where we
Yeah.
start today.
And you're mother to four children actually, and I forgot to mention that you're I'm tutoring two of them. I'm your you're my client as well. So I've been recruited into your family's
Yeah.
teaching duties. So so and I believe one of them is homeschooled, and so how from a parent's point of view that homeschool your children. Oh, we got some comments coming in. So just we got Sandra on Periscope, Twitter. Hi, Atul and Caroline. Mustafa, who's one of my friends from Imperial College.
Oh, yes, Imperial College.
Yes, Caroline went to Imperial College as well. Yay to Imperial people.
My big son is there as well. Well,
Right.
not there because they're doing online lessons now.
Yeah.
So, but yes.
Hello from Judy. Hello from Rebecca on the maths group as well. So thanks for everyone for tuning in on this Sunday. So yeah, just going back to your experience as a parent who's homeschooling one child and three of them, we could maybe talk about all of them and see where they are at the moment, because it's homeschooling as well. It's extremely difficult thing. I think a lot of parents have been put into this homeschooling role, and I had a chat with Mark McCourt earlier, and he said it's almost sort of condescending to the teaching world to expect parents to be able to homeschool very well, because they're two very different disciplines. And
Yes.
and you can elaborate that on as your experience as someone who homeschools their child, how difficult it is, and yeah, and all that. Yeah.
So yeah, my number three child is homeschooled. He's 13 years old. He's been homeschooled for the past 6 years, I think 5 or 6 years, and it was kind of a situation I was kind of thrown into. I hadn't planned on homeschooling, but he's not school shaped. So that's where we were. And so, like many of you who have suddenly been thrown, if you're parents and you've suddenly been told you've got to do all this online schooling or this schooling your child, I was frantically looking for resources, clashing with him about, handwriting. No, that one's wrong. Because as a parent, it's so personal. You want your child to be better than you, and that's not fair on your child. So what I have done slowly over the years, and what I've realized, and why I can sit here and smile today, is that outsourcing your child's education, if you can, is a strategy that's worked for me. So my oldest child, who's now 20 years old, she's at university. So I actually hired an online tutor for her, because we're living in Bahrain. Maybe there were a few tutors in Bahrain at that time, but it was for economics, GCSE. But I knew I had access to the online world. I was a blogger. I was tutoring online. I knew there were better tutors out there. There was a bigger choice of tutors if I went online. And so about 6 years ago, she started having an economics tutor. I'm a maths tutor, but when it comes to A-level maths, I thought I should outsource that. So my daughter, she's now doing a computer science degree, and my son, who's doing a maths degree, I outsourced their A-level tutoring as well. So I was actually an online tutoring parent before I was an online tutor in a sense. And coming back to the homeschooling, I always found that it's better. I had a better relationship with my kids because I'm the one telling them to eat their food, clean their teeth, tidy their rooms, be perfect. And if I'm also saying, well, no, it's y over x, it's not x over y, then that just adds, more tension in the house. And if I can get someone else to hassle them and someone else to have expectations, oftentimes they're more likely to listen to that other person, especially if they respect that person, they like that person, and it's not the person who's nagging them for other things. And it's not because they're terrible, rebellious children. Of course, as a child, inside you want to seek approval from your parents. So, yeah, I think that has been online tutoring from the other side as a parent has been extremely useful in my life.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I'm obviously homeschooling your child, and in that case, I could see like we actually have very similar styles in teaching. I mean, we're like very. I mean, we both went to Imperial online teaching, and sometimes I joke, well, you're just getting more of mum basically, but it's not mum because it's Atul.
Tell
Like
them that.
it's a very different person. It's like a whole different, like, I don't have to ask him to do this or do that what a parent would. It's a very different relationship, and even if the content is very similar in some ways, or the pedagogy, I mean, it's always going to be different because my life experience is different to yours. So I think that's a good idea. But what about parents who can't outsource, who are literally just stuck with their child and feel this obligation that the schools have stopped and schools are
Yeah.
sending them lots and lots of stuff to do, but they can't keep up with it? And what's your advice to them? Like,
My
what can they
advice is
do?
pick your battles. Just it's not worth the stress. Just do what you can. And if the English is sloppy, if the handwriting is sloppy, if they're getting maths questions wrong, it's fine. Because you're not. It's not your responsibility to educate, to be the primary educator. You weren't expecting this. This has been thrown at you. So just do what you can. Research some resources. Maybe for half an hour a week to see if there's anything out there. Don't drink from the fire hose. There's so many new resources out there. Don't feel as though you have to implement everything. Don't say, hey, we're going to use this app, and oh no, we're going to use that app. Just introduce new things to your child slowly, and enjoy having them at home.
That's really like fantastic and sobering advice, because Mark gave the same advice earlier this week, and he
Oh,
said something like, maybe maths education isn't the most important thing in the world right now. It's just spend time with your children, get to know them, and vice versa. Do some family things together. That's things that you may have been putting off for a while, and maybe just get them ready for when the term starts. But because, or show them what your job is. Like, tell them how, because you know about your job very well, so this is an opportunity for you to show them, and you're working from home, so you can, that's the thing you are good at. I mean, teaching is a totally different ball game, so just relieve yourself of that pressure of trying to like continue the things as they were, because they are not as they were. They have really changed. So we can all, like teachers, educators, can relax, and parents can relax. A few more comments coming in actually, from one from Mustafa as well. Sandra says, I agree, pick only a few battles. Yeah, sobering advice. Mustafa's asking, do you have any insight on remote tutoring, particularly with people's have SEN, like special needs? Any advice or any experience on that? I have my own answer as well, but I'll ask you first.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. My son, one of my kids, is high functioning ASD, so that's my personal experience. So I'm comfortable with that. I know they need more, not gentle handling, but they do need different expectations. So I have tutored other students who are high functioning ASD, but I think Atul, you've got more experience, so I'll let you continue.
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually teaching him. So, but
Yeah.
obviously I won't go into detail here because that's a confidential sort of relationship. But besides him, of course, it is extremely pedagogically. It is highly intellectually demanding. Like, online tutoring is very high demand of pedagogy. So like a different pedagogy altogether. You've got to almost like expert online tutoring, not this sort of everyone's jumping onto the online tutoring bandwagon. It's because everyone's got a gun pointed towards their head, because if you don't do it, you lose all your income, and that's obviously you have to do it, but that's not the right reason to do it actually, because I went into online tutoring solely 100%. I made a conscious decision in 2016 to stop teaching in person, because I realized this remote, like Caroline's in Bahrain right now, I'm in London, but you could be like 2 doors away from me. I've used this online remote, me and you being far away, in a screen, Zoom, bit paper, this is a pedagogical choice and a tool in itself that can add value to tutoring.
Oh,
And that needs a lot of experience, training, trial and tribulation and error. And so that's difficult. If you are going to find a SEN tutor for your child, they've got to be really, really good. They've got to know first how to deal with SEN issues anyway, because SEN is an umbrella term. It can mean a whole bunch of stuff, and like even with ASD, that's still an umbrella term. There's so many different types. So for me, in the beginning, I used to get reports from parents, and I used to like read into them, and it just confused the hell out of me actually. So I mean, I would looked up stuff, but for now, I just say actually, I'm just gonna treat the child like just like any other tutee, actually, just like a normal person, and get to know them.
yeah, figure them out.
Yeah, exactly. And that might take some time. That'll be a bit of trial and error, but that's the same with any other tutee. And just be sensitive towards what their concerns are, and calibrate to this thing. You're always calibrating, you're always pinging back from your student, you're always adjusting to them. And I email you as well, Caroline, about what I'm doing, and it's always this kind of self-adjustment process, and it takes time, and just time and patience, but it is an extremely it's not a skill we can underplay. It's a really, really like important skill, both being able to do it online and being able to do it at all. So yeah, that's my take on it. Brilliant. So I've got loads of questions actually. So yeah, you were. I'd love to see like some things you demonstrate. I know you're a fan of MathsPad. I love geometry online. I've tried a bit of MathsPad, but I think you're the MathsPad guru. So we'll dive straight into a MathsPad demo here.
Okay, so let me share my screen. I've closed my 100 tabs that I usually have open.
Oh, that looks nice. Yeah.
So I thought I'd demo. MathsPad does have some free resources. This is part of the paid resources. I think I'm paying about £15. I think the price is the same in dollars per quarter. I think that's about right. Oops, I need to deselect. So when I'm teaching, I very rarely have a blank screen or a blank whiteboard. I like to have something to talk to and about. So I really like these circle theorems and MathsPad pages, because that you can drag the red points. So sometimes I drag them, sometimes I ask my students to control my computer, because we can do that on Zoom, and then I can click here, what do you notice, and ask them what do they notice, what's going on, and here we can move things around, and these angles are changing. So opposite angles in the cyclic quadrilateral, add up to 180, but I want to see if they can see that. I want to see if they can spot that. So I love MathsPad. It kind of really helps me draw the children into kind of the investigation, giving them clues as we're going along, before giving them the final rule. And then it would do some questions. Let me see. Oh, this is another one as well. But then let's see, and then it would give some questions for them to do. And I really like this, because then I just click, we can both see the answers, and there's sometimes they're like yeah. Or if it's it's wrong, okay, let's see what happened. So I do really like using MathsPad. They have they have things that are almost game-like as well. This is about an introduction to vectors. So they have lots and lots of great resources. This is their homepage. So it's definitely worth exploring the the free resources, and see if it's something that would be useful to you. Because I just love the interactive resources, even with the older students. I think it's great, and it takes away some of the, not takes away the planning, but that everything is kind of there. You don't have to draw it up or write it up. I'm one of those tutors as well. I do have a Wacom tablet, but I don't often use it, because I've got a laptop. It's not always in the right place. I mean, I can see it across the room, but it's not attached. So generally my handwriting is not, it is okay with the map. This is with my trackpad, it's not bad. But I'm encouraging the students to write more than anything. And so if I have to write, I'm rarely writing, 20 lines of algebra. That just does not happen as such, and not continuously. We are discussing in between. So so that's one resource.
What about there's a really good transformations tool on there, if I remember right. And one of the
Yes,
questions I
I
get
love
from my
that. I
students
did that
is,
this week. Yeah, it's the transformations is awesome. Hang on,
how
let
do
me
you
log
show
in.
rotations about a pivot? Actually, that's one of the questions I get online all the time without tracing paper and stuff. I
Oh,
think so.
without
Yeah,
tracing paper. So MathsPad doesn't do them without tracing paper,
doesn't need
actually.
to. Doesn't need to. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. So I have yet to find, if you do find a tool that does the without tracing paper, where's the oh, sorry, no, I didn't need to click that. Let me just move you out of the way. Oh, there. Okay. You were blocking me.
Oh, on the video, right? Yeah.
But this is quite nice. It overlays the tracing paper, so
Nice.
90 degrees clockwise. So the students, again, I generally give the student control if they can take control. It's a bit iffy on an iPad if you want them to take control, but generally if they're on a laptop or a desktop, it's fine. And this actually, the other thing it does is, hang on, if you click tracing paper, it will animate it. You press the animate button and it shows you. I love this.
Nice. Yeah, it does really well.
So
Yeah.
that is quite nice. So I am, I'm not saying you have to go and spend this money, but I love MathsPads. I'm often looking MathsPads first, especially for the start of a topic. I always refer to MathsPad first, and if they don't have it, then I'll look for other resources. Yeah, do you think we can get them to throw us some money then, Atul?
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
times?
Well, we are plugging them. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if they're big on social media. I don't know where I came across them.
No, they're really good. Actually, sort of. I got a subscription to them, but I've never really used them. I just use it for mostly this stuff actually, and a few worksheets. But no, I think you're much more of a pro user. So that's really good. So essentially, what I get is you are getting them to articulate, and you are articulating. So this process of like batting to and fro from you to the tutee is quite. It's very interactive. It's pedagogically very interesting because you know what to expect from them or not expect. You can read from them what if they've got it or not, and that's all you need. You don't necessarily need to write a lot. And they would they have to write? Presumably they write on the screen or annotate.
Yeah, they can write on the screen with their annotate tool as well in Zoom. I mean, Zoom, the annotate tool from the student side is slightly different from the host side. So I'm always telling them, especially the first class, if you're on a laptop, click view options on the top. It's like a toolbar, and then annotate and then draw, because that doesn't automatically come up. And I know that confuses people when they first start tutoring online, and it confused me because obviously as a host, you get all the tools, they come up right away. So I just wanted to pick up on the idea. I always tell my students that I always apologize and say, I know I'm the worst teacher and horrible because I'm asking you, what do you know about this subject? What do you know about this topic? Even before I've taught them anything. And I know they're going to give me a wrong answer, but I want to hear what they're going to say. What's their idea? Maybe they have a little nugget of how to do the question, or have some ideas from previous knowledge. And even if it's complete rubbish, it gives me an idea of where they're coming from. So maybe I got that from my teacher training. I was saying to Atul that I did my teacher training at Cambridge University, and we had Don Stewart come in. And I think, very much his thinking is, to not teach. It's not chalk and talk. It's kind of trying to probe the student's mind. And of course, that's so much easier on a one-to-one than it is with a classroom full of kids. So I think that's why I love the online tutoring, because you're not dealing with a classroom of kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a really good. I do the same thing. It's a pedagogical technique in itself. It serves 3 or 4 purposes. The first purpose is diagnostic information. You need to know what they know, what they don't know. Not only just from the.
And what they don't know is more useful to you as a tutor as well, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And their wording and their the vocal intonation and the facial expression, etc. All those things, like all those cues. So it's not just what they're saying; it's the way they're saying it. You can read a lot from it.
Their tone as well. What are they nervous about? What are they confident about?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
And the other thing it does is something called the Pretest Effect. So you can give a tutee a question on a topic you've never taught them before, and you can say, well, just have a go at it. I want to see how you attack the problem, and then they will. The kid children are very intelligent, people are very intelligent, so they'll apply some kind of strategy, some type of strategy. It's called an invented strategy, as Mark calls it, Mark McCourt. So they have some strategy they attack it with. So you might not have taught them Pythagoras theorem, but they probably figured out that the longest side is somehow longer than the other two sides.
Yeah.
So what that does is gets them thinking about the problem. So they're alert, they're sensitized to thinking about that problem.
Yeah.
So
and they're interested as well, because
yeah,
it's kind of
they're
a
like,
puzzle.
what?
Instead of like sit here and listen to me tell you a thing and then repeat the thing. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
this. What do you think?
Exactly, and that's a lot better than like telling them the answer straight away, because
Yes.
they're not sensitized, they're not alert. After you've asked them, and they say, and if you say something like, I'm about to tell you the answer, like after you get them to like try it out a little bit and sweat it out a little bit, they're very alert to it. Like, I better pay attention to this, because this is a thing I've been sweating at for a while, and I'm about to be told the answer. So
Yes. And I love it as well, because especially if they've started off not confident. So sometimes, have you had a really unconfident student and you say, how do you think you do this? They say, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. So, please just share anything. And then weeks or months later, they're saying, no, but it is this, it is. They're so confident that they're willing to argue against you. And I love that whole kind of process.
Yeah.
Like, what have I created? What kind of monster have I created? But
it's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. So yeah, you can take it off screen share if you're not going to use MathsPad, and we can just the two of us will chat for a while. Yeah, but that's really good. That's really good teaching, because you want to elicit that information. And then also what mathematicians do is not answer a bunch of questions and get them right. Of course you need to do that for fluency, but that's not mathematicians get a question and like lost most of the time. Like if you're trying to solve a problem, like that process of being lost is what we do, really.
It's
I mean,
yes, yeah.
And I've got another homeschool tutee, upper six, really like into recreational maths, and he throws new problems at me like every week. Like really novel problems, and I'm sweating away thinking about it. But I'm very honest with it. Like I'm just saying, well, okay, that's what mathematicians do. We're going to try and attack this problem, find out how it does. I know more ways of doing it, so obviously I can get to it faster. I even just say, I've even shown him the tools. Just Google it, use Wolfram Alpha, look up these websites. He knows all the tools. I've actually told him, and I'm telling him on live, like this is what I'm trying to work out. And that's what mathematicians do. We try to look at a problem, we see if we can use our previous knowledge to generalize, to conjecture, to come up with a hypothesis, to test it. Does it work or not? You're an engineer, I'm an engineer. We want to test stuff, like does it work, does it not work? If it doesn't work, we can disprove it. It may work some of the time, may not work some other times. If it works every single time and it's solid to every kind of proof, like you're a structural engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer, we know this thing is solid, it's like we believe in it, this thing is going to work, this bridge is going to work, so it's ready now. And that's that's a really, really good just teaching. Basically, it's got to be, that's the way it's done, that's what mathematicians do. Instead of
how do you handle it, like parents, especially primary parents of kids in primary school, they want them to learn the times tables. I mean, it's it's a skill and it's helpful. But I often say to parents, it's no point paying for me to sit with your child for an hour doing the times tables. I can recommend some tools. I can talk about the times tables a bit at the start of the lesson, at the end of the lesson. But so how do you kind of balance that, mathematicians versus arithmeticians? Maybe is that a good way to? Because I want to build a mathematician.
Yeah, this is really interesting, actually. I'm just going to pick up on another couple of comments here. Sandra says, I always ask them to tell me what they can see. That's one of my favorite quotes. Tell me what do you see, and what they know that is similar. So what's the same, what's different. I call it page dumping until they can do it in their heads. That's probably a reference to something else. But to come back to, I find primary teaching is actually a lot more intellectually demanding. It is really, it requires a lot of intelligence and like really careful thought. So I teach everything, like from skip counting in twos, number bonds, to A-level maths. So well, not for the A-level maths, but yeah, pretty much the whole mainstream school journey. And I find that the further up you go, A-level maths is the easiest to teach. I set them a question, I wait for 5 minutes, and then there's a problem somewhere. So actually, this happened in this matter. Let's correct that. But it takes a lot of intellectual capacity, both to teach a child who cannot do number bonds because they don't have other experience in the world of numbers, enough experience for them to glue up the whole thing into number bonds. And for parents to somehow appreciate that. So parents of younger children often they have more recent memory of their school compared to parents of older children. So they think their child will learn maths in the way they did. So you know, and that's really not true. So with parents of when I first started, actually, I found primary parents really quite demanding. Actually, it was the same sort of thing. I want them to do times table fractions 11 plus. But now I have, like, when I start with them, I have nearly an hour call right at the very beginning, and I talk about these things like numbers, digits, numerals. They've never heard of numbers, digits, and numerals, and that's like one of the most fundamental ideas in maths. If you don't know numbers, digits, and numerals, equality, equivalence, like it's, and the axioms of maths, like commutative property, distributive property. This is really like fundamental stuff. These are the axioms, and this is done at primary school, and this can be done with like Cuisenaire rods or coins and things, and you'd really want to build that idea. So the parents have not done these axioms or are conscious of these axioms or numbers, digits, numerals. So you have this really intelligent conversation with the parent the first time around. You set the scene right from the very beginning, and that just sets you up as like you are the expert. You really know what you're doing. So I'd never rarely get parents like sort of interfering. If they do, the primary school parents, because the maths is easier as well for them, so they can understand it. But secondly, like you do A level, obviously they don't understand the maths, and the stroppy teenager says, "Oh, like, you don't know what you're talking about," and they're probably right because they didn't do A level maths. So it's kind of easier to manage the parent in that way, but. So yeah, this depends on the very first conversation you have, the framework you set. If they ask for times table and you don't think they're ready for times table, then you have that expectation right from the beginning, and it's all right from the beginning. They must trust your expertise.
Yes.
You must show them your expertise by like having that first conversation with them, so that they know what you're talking about. In the same way as if you go to like a consultant in a hospital appointment, you know from like a little bit of conversation, they really know what they're talking about. Like, I better think twice before asking stupid questions, or like suppose like really my questions better be intelligent sort of thing. I mean, there's no stupid question as such, but the question has to be fairly they have to think about it. Rebecca's got a few things going on that all needs to be secure, and then you can move on to shortcuts with tables or tables. Okay. There's lots of great tips about times tables. So
I like to show the sixes are double the threes, because they generally know the threes, or the fours are double the twos, so it's kind of like showing the patterns.
There's multiple representations anyway, so there's more to times tables than just rote learning them. Of course, at some point you need to be able to recall the times tables facts, so they're not the times table, the times tables facts. Depends. I mean, for me, you have to like assess where the child's true starting point is. So the times tables might not be the true starting point. I often find actually the number bonds are the starting point than times tables, and the number bonds have to be consolidated, because if they know the number bonds, then they can work on the times tables. But again, number bonds may not maybe that they've got the number bonds, or may not. If they haven't, then maybe it's like skip counting and other things. And again, you could be doing, it's not learning maths is not a linear journey, so you don't do this and this. You could be doing geometry, for example, as a separate strand, which will all interconnect later, or arithmetic stuff with multiple representations. So Cuisenaire rods, a couple of my favorite ones are these reckon recs, so like a 2-row and a 10-row reckon rec. There's a virtual one as well. So they they literally get like contact with numbers, a feel for numbers, because they're interacting with those numbers. So there's a lot more to times table than just memorizing them. It's to do with the multiples. So we're looking at the general idea of multiples. What is multiples? Well, that's repeated addition. So you've got to then go back to this is one of the axioms. And if you know all your axioms, then there is no bit mass either. So again, that's another. Yeah. So I have that in the very first conversation with the parent. There is no bit mass because they're based on these axioms. Repeated multiplication, well, that's addition, so of course you have to make that into an addition problem first, and then subtracting is adding with negative numbers, or the additive inverse, division, multiplicative inverse, etc., etc. Okay, great. So I've just got I scribbled a bunch of questions here. So you got MathsPad. So yeah, is there anything else you use besides MathsPad on Zoom? Do we just want to get used to like your Zoom way of doing things?
Yeah, I'll share the screen again. I'll share my whole desktop. So I think one website that I shared, you can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah, we can see the whole, like all your tabs and everything, everything on there actually. So
it's just another one from the internet. So again, as well as exploring, obviously we need to do some crunch work. So there's so many beautiful worksheets online. This is from White Rose Maths. Sometimes on Zoom, someone can see your whole desktop. So if I move the browser out of the way, you can see my beautifully arranged desktop. This is a PDF. Again, we can scroll through the PDF and do some. This is from Save My Exams. Something else I pay for as well. This is an excellent resource for GCSEs and IGCSE maths. The thing with Zoom, though, actually is, so this is where BitPaper is better than Zoom, is once you write an answer or write some working out, if you then scroll, it's as though there's a pane of glass on top of the screen, and so it's not moving with the question. So I actually make it the student's responsibility to take a screenshot. So today I had a student, they had a Galaxy Samsung tablet, and they said when they pressed save on Zoom, they didn't know where it went to. So I Googled it and we found what buttons to press on the device to do a screenshot. So that's always useful, maybe in one of the first lessons, to figure out, how to do a screenshot, especially if you're just using Zoom. But yeah, I mean, I have played with BitPaper. I'm not anti-BitPaper. One of my kids' tutors uses BitPaper. It's beautiful. But it's just, I think Zoom does everything that I need it to do. And I don't feel as though I need to spend the time investing in training myself onto BitPaper at the moment. So I'm happy with with Zoom on its own. And I understand its limitations. Maybe in the future, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, I'll, watch someone else using BitPaper and say, oh, I really need this tool. But actually, since I discovered MathsPad, I think one thing that BitPaper does is really nice protractor work and rotating the protractor.
Yeah,
but I discovered MathsPad, and there is a protractor tool on there. So it's kind of, there are always different ways of doing things. And, you can argue, is Coke or Pepsi better? But then if you're just used to the taste of Coke, then just stick with it. Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah, and you want to keep the tech simple if possible. Like really, if you Zoom it works for you, because I keep telling people that actually I use pen and paper and sticking bits of paper every now and then. I use this whole articulation that you use as well with students. That's like very important online. And that worked for me from 2012 to 2016, or 2015. So for the first few years, that's how I did it. Just pen and paper and a video call. That's all I needed. And if this works for you, you can do a lot on Zoom. Look, you can obviously write, annotate. You can choose different colors. You can write on part of this glass pane, and it's just not like you would in person. So that's good enough. You can do straight lines.
I take Arabic lessons with an online tutor. I am the worst student. Oh gosh. But she uses Skype and screen share, and that's it. And she's an amazing teacher. It's like she's really good. She types the words in, the vocabulary in. She has resources on her screen, and I'm really learning. I feel as I'm the bad student, she's an amazing teacher, but it's more to do with your personal preference and what your style is as a tutor and what your knowledge is of the subject as well. So I know there's a lot of people asking, how do I use this tool, that tool? And it's frustrating if you log in and you've got this expectation for it all to work because you've seen me or Atul or another tutor using their tools super smoothly and having no problems. We still sometimes have problems. Zoom introduced the password a day early, but I saw on the maths tutor group and was able to test that and send out messages to my students. So you're always having to keep up with the technology. But actually remember why you're doing this. It's because you want to share, the maths with people. So if you find something that works for the moment, just start with that, even if it's Skype and a whiteboard. And, don't worry about just because everyone's using Zoom or everyone's using BitPaper. You don't have to be that to be amazing. You can just be amazing. And then find a weekend, find a slot. The other thing I just remembered is trying to just grab somebody, even if it's like a family member, your kids, give them an iPhone and say, okay, this is a Zoom link. Can you go downstairs or to the other end of the house and I'm going to connect? And can you tell me what you see? Or let's swap over. What can I see? So play with it in your house with whoever's socially isolating with you these days. Honestly, that's the best thing to do. I know Atul, you're giving some advice and help on the groups, and I'm trying to, give some, advice as well. But, Zoom has a support site where you can type in questions. And I think BitPaper has a document as well with lots of explanations. And sometimes just Googling mouse disappearing Zoom will come up with, someone else in the world has had that problem. And even if it's not on the Zoom official website, someone may have had that problem or will have posted a solution. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So at the moment, like the vast majority of online tutoring is pretty terrible. Actually, it's shocking. But it is what it is, and I'm seeing this come up on multiple forums. Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? We really expect tutors to be intelligent enough to like Google this and find out or do their trial and expect improvement. Like I've made a really elaborate document on the maths tutors group on online tutoring, like very detailed. And it's not a brand new one. I've been like working on it for 2-3 years, and I keep adding stuff to it. And every question you could ever have on online tutoring is more or less answered there. That's the first document you need to look at in detail before you ask any questions. But like, I'm seeing this on every group. Like all the experienced online tutors have stopped answering questions. Like it's become too tiresome. Like so read information, Google it. There's lots of great information. We've been putting this out for years. We tutor online passionately. Like I stopped teaching in person. Like I know how can be good. So do that first, and then ask for our help, or because what happens then is like we just give up, and so you have beginner online tutors giving bad advice to other beginner online tutors, and like the rest of us, we just kind of, what can we do, because no one's kind of listening to us. So this is one reason why
as well, over and over again, it
can be it's the same question. It's repetitive. Like
I can understand everyone's in panic mode. We're all slightly anxious all the time.
And
so if it's your livelihood and you need to sort it tomorrow because you've promised a parent or you need to earn tomorrow, then, I can understand. But look at the documents that are out there already.
Search. There's a search bar on every group, has nearly answered everything. So look at that first. By all means, of course, it's a group, and all these are groups, and Twitter, etc., social media. Ask the question, and you'll get answers. But it's the same question coming up again. So that means if it's been answered 15 times today, that you can look at the old threads and first look at the old threads and answer them, rather than just like me. I want this answer straight away. I'm going to put it straight away. So, and I hope for like lots of answers. So most of us also asking, I suppose this one is for me really, what are the advantages of BitPaper? Where do I start?
Ooh.
I work for BitPaper, so it is probably the most sophisticated tool for teaching online, actually. Give BitPaper a URL link to a child, and you'll see them interacting with it like you've never seen, like with any kind of online technology, because it's live paper between two people. with 180 colors available, so you see them right,
Oh,
you write.
I like the
I play
colours
noughts and
idea.
crosses with them the first lesson. So I did that one with a student in America yesterday. Actually, I had our first session, and we played noughts and crosses like as if we were in the same space. And then you can copy and paste any resource you want, customized to that student in that time. You can obviously have video along. You can have a vector like you can make constructions, enlargements, rotations, because it's a vector graphic program, so you can do all of these things. Like you can rotate stuff really fast, they can see it, you can interact. It's really like two-way interaction. But yeah, anyway, that's like my brief answer on bit paper.
So I think Zoom does the first two, but not, it's not a vector. So yeah, you can't whizzy things around. So but again, Zoom does have its own built-in whiteboards. I don't have 180 colors.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I do have quite a few colors. But yeah, but paper does look fab.
Yeah, whenever if it feels like it, then you can always move to it. I'm happy to show you a few things. Yeah, just looking at sort of my phone there, what's coming up, what comments. Let me just have a look at the Matt's Facebook group.
I think I had someone asked me a question, the tutor that I'm in contact with,
Right.
relatively new to online. He's successfully managed an online lesson, which is really good. And he was asking, he's not a qualified teacher, and he was asking, how can he, well, he wanted to know, how can I be a better tutor? And I said, well, that's quite a broad question, but specifically, how can he show his expertise to parents? And yeah, that was the question he had. What are your thoughts?
How to be a better tutor? It's a really good question, and I'm glad they're asking that, because unfortunately, the problem with the tutoring industry, for the vast majority of it, it is the Wild West, and everyone thinks they're a good tutor already. So, and they're because there's no accountability. You do a job. The parent may be happy, maybe not. You don't really know how happy or they're not, or even parent being happy or not is not a true measure, or the child performing well or not is not a true measure, because you can't. It's really difficult to infer learning. As for becoming a better tutor, I think we're very, very lucky, actually, in the UK especially, to have a lot of continuous professional development. I think continuous professional development and meeting other tutors is the way forward. You learn so much. Like I've been tutoring 13 years, actually coming to my 14th, and for the first 9 odd years, I didn't know a single other tutor. It's just a very lonely, solitary, such a strange world. There's a lot of tutors. And then I started meeting some on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And the very early ones I met were other online tutors. So they were pioneers as well. And so I'd been teaching online from 2012 to about 2015. Then I started meeting these online tutors. I learned phenomenal amounts. I actually had calls with them. Like everything changed for me. Like after I started meeting tutors, and then I discovered the Maths CPD network. I started going to Maths conferences. I'm a Maths CPD and conference addict. I go to 3 of them a year. The LaSalle ones. I read books. Like I read 2 books, like 4 or 5 a year. And that's like I'm just completely obsessed with this stuff.
There are
So
podcasts now as well. Is it Mr. Barton or is it Colbert who does a podcast?
Mr. Barton, yeah, there's lots of great resources. So I think the openness and the humility to think that actually I'm not good enough. You're never good enough. I'm not good enough. I can tell you that outright. Like no one stops becoming the perfect tutor. You are always on your way to becoming more expert. You're never truly expert, and it's almost like when you realize how much there is to know, you realize how little you do actually know, even if you've been tutoring 30, 40. I get tutors saying this to me. I've been tutoring 30, 40 years. I think I'm really good. Well, yes, but what does that mean? I mean, it could be maybe you're teaching 30, 40 years in a certain way that then there's more ways of teaching. There's no like, yeah, just go out there, talk to other tutors, as many calls as you can make, like make these online calls. You can do that so easily. So I started just having calls with these other online tutors. Then I started setting up these groups on Facebook, and that changed. That was a game changer, because
Yeah.
then more and more tutors, like the maths one is 1,000 odd tutors now, and that's That's like on the whole level that's causing, it's like the scaling problems are, there's problems with when you start scaling. But yeah, just really and not on Facebook groups and LinkedIn. That the chat is the worst way of actually communicating with other tutors. Arrange a call, meet them in person. In London, I'm arranging these tutor meetups for free. Like, you can turn up to them. I met Caroline last
I
year in
went.
Hyde Park with
Yes.
her son
With my
at
son.
this meetup, and it was a beautiful sunny day, in a midsummer day.
Oh, those are the days when we were allowed out.
How we'd love to go back to those days. But just, yeah, just be open-minded, learn from other tutors, find out. The CPD is the most quickest way because they're being delivered by really expert people who are good at training tutors.
And they're online now. LaSalle Education, they're doing online ones. I've been waiting for that because I can't fly into the UK that often, and they don't happen in the summer when I'm in the UK in the summer.
Yeah,
So I'm looking to sign up for these online ones. I'm really
they're
excited
doing
about
loads. I mean, I've lost track. Maybe they're like 7, 8 a week, every week. They're bombing it, and they're really, really good. I
it. It's
like,
really good.
sign
I'm,
up.
I'm
Like,
excited about it's just spending that time thinking about a particular topic because we're so busy. A lot of us are tutoring quite a few hours or have other things going on. Um, and maybe we would have the time to sit down and say, oh, what's the best way to teach fractions? But actually, we're not going to make that time. Whereas, if you do a proper course, you're forced to. And so that's what I'm most excited about, forcing myself to sit down and really think about maths teaching.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we get so stuck. So I might go to a CPD course, and often I go on the day I'm tutoring someone. Sometimes I can like go straight to my first tutor and apply the new idea. Like, I went to a course on making maths memorable, LaSalle one, and
Okay.
on that they talked about cognitive load theory and how it's really interesting. Actually, it's not a good idea to read a slide out with the same text, because what that does is you've got the visual stimulus
Mm.
and the hearing one going on, audiological one going on at the same time, and it's like this conflict between the two channels. So what you do
Okay.
is you leave the piece of text and ask this tutee to read it, and they talked about like making sure there's no extraneous, like the cognitive load has to be just right on the task at hand. So I started like my bit paper whiteboard. You see, I have a lot of white space. I only give just the right info at the right time and reveal just the right thing. I'm very conscious of this white space that might be causing distractions.
Mm.
You don't want clutter there. You have to really carefully design your material. So again, this is not stuff you can learn overnight. Like, you have to like bring in a lot of stuff into your online realm of teaching.
That's really interesting because I don't use bit paper, but I do like, I'm always zooming in because is that what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to focus the students, focus myself on one part of, the document. So I do like zooming in.
Yeah,
So
it's the
I hope
same
they do
idea.
that one
So
online. I hope they do that one online. I must catch that one. Yeah.
yeah, and that's a great thing about online tutoring, actually, because you've got this attention on the screen, and therefore you can, like, by zooming in or by moving or panning, you can change the focus of attention, which you can't do like if you turn up on a piece of paper. Everything has all equal amounts of
Yeah.
attention, and it's all the same. But here you can have, like, and pick and mix, and that's a pedagogical like advantage almost of all online tutoring if you use it properly, and you know
Well,
how to do it.
I'll tell you a little anecdote. Is that I had two neighbors. I live on a small residential compound, so we're kind of like a gated compound. That's how lots of people live in the Middle East. And my neighbors were saying, well, can you come and teach our kids? And so I said, okay, well, you are like next door or you are 3 doors away. I will come. So I would go and I'd take a like CGP book, but I also take my iPad because I'm just so used. I've got like, there's the whole of the internet. Why would I leave the whole of the internet at home? So I've kind of got that online tutor mentality. And then I'd open up MathsPad and I'd say, okay. So it's, I mean, hopefully that people who are new to online tutoring, you're going to be, once you're going back to face, you're going to have so many resources, so many ideas that you can bring to your face-to-face tutoring as well. So I hope you'll find that.
Yes. Yeah, if you do it long enough, you probably won't teach face to face again, actually.
Yeah, I don't anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. I know the really good online tutors I know, like they're either 90% online or like 80%. They're nearly all online because there's so many pedagogical advantages that only reveal them to you after you've done like hundreds, for probably 1,000 hours at least, you realize these, and doing the right way, and asking the other online tutors, and seeing and using, just being aware of all of this, kind of changing the focus.
I know of parents who are tutors who tutor their children online. So they send their children to another part of the house and they do it online. So
I saw one, yeah. So I think it's Ashley in the American group. She teaches her own child reading online. She sends him to another room, like, get your headphones on, and because I know you'll get more out of you on a screen than will you sitting right next to me. That's fascinating, because obviously they found that as a tutor, and therefore now as a parent. Okay, great. So we've been nearly going for an hour, so I'll try and wrap this thing up. It is a Sunday.
my son wants to get back onto Fortnite, because I said, don't go on Fortnite, you're going to use up my bandwidth. And he's just been hassling me. You said 45 minutes. And I'm like, yes, it's been over.
Right, and you have to stop them from going out, right? That's
I have to stop him from going out, so I've given him Fortnite time.
Right.
Because he's going to become a professional Fortnite player, and I don't let him play enough.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Fortnite, yes. I
was going to talk about the group classes. I don't know if you wanted to hear about that.
I want that, and then we can kind of finish off with your Maths Insider thing. Yeah, so you can talk about the group classes. Yeah.
Should I talk about that? So, so I've been teaching group classes. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I don't use PowerPoint. Not PowerPoint, slides, Google Slides, for my one-to-one tutoring, but I've been teaching small group classes, 6 students of homeschoolers. I kind of advertise it as like pop culture maths. So it's not curriculum strictly, but it's just, it's basically getting children excited about maths. So I've recently done a class about COVID-19, and this is a Wikipedia interactive, which is showing the different the spread, and then what else have I got? I also use YouTube video clips as well. This is a great one from Kurzgesagt. I think that's the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And then we did some guessing of what were the statistics. It went over 1 million the same day after we did this class. Is really interesting. And we looked at the Public Health England website. We looked at the students' own boroughs, if they wanted to. Some students didn't want to. So, there's so many, resources out there, real life resources that you can use, which link. And I quite like, I teach these about a few times a month, because they do take a lot of time. I've had to discipline myself now not to start preparing until 2 or 3 hours before, because otherwise I will spend 4 days continuously. Because can you imagine how many charts there are out there, how many resources there are that are showing the spread of COVID-19? And I would spend days just like finding the perfect resources. This is a mad one. Look at this. This is from Reddit. And this is generated from news reports of deaths, etc. So, but these can easily be brought into your, one-to-one, and even when you're offline and doing face-to-face, it's really, there's so many cool resources that can be linked to real life, maths, rather than, Jamie buys a truck of watermelons as such. I've done classes on the maths of movie statistics, of Marvel films and movie statistics. I've done Star Wars versus Harry Potter. So there's, different things. It's a really great time to be alive and to share maths. It's not just teaching the curriculum and making sure they pass exams. I want to build a love of maths. I want kids to be excited. And I had a child in the last class say, I said, oh, do you like these charts? And like, oh, I didn't, but I like them now. And I was just like, yes, that's brilliant. And I've had parents say, my daughter didn't like maths, but she's really excited for your lessons. And I just want them to, when they're having to trudge through long multiplication of decimals, I want them to remember, but then I can learn about some cool things. This, maths is cool. This is the drudge, but there is coolness in maths as well. So I just thought I'd share that.
No, that's absolutely awesome. I think that's a real skill to get, bring your personality your way of teaching, the things you're into, to get
Oh yeah,
students
you can
really
see I got
excited.
really excited, didn't
Yeah,
I? I
yeah,
waved my hands. My daughter does that. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yes.
really like that. Actually, I know you use Gapminder as well. Could you show me just a bit of the
Oh,
Gapminder stuff?
Gapminder, yes. Oh, actually, let me put the real Gapminder on because I have it. They've got an offline app.
Right. Yeah, if
Sorry.
it's easy enough to do. If not, then
Yeah,
don't. Yeah, it's
let
fine.
me sort that out. You find a window because that's really good because it doesn't drain your whatever the thing that's drained. So hang on, let me
RAM
click
and CPU or
the
whatever. Yeah.
RAM and the bandwidth and stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so let me. Oh, I've lost you now, Atul. I've got you now. Okay, share the screen and okay, let's share Gapminder itself then. Oh, it is so awesome. Yeah, so we've got maps. Oh, look at that. So yeah, this is look at that. You got the timeline and you can see the population growing from the 1800s going on. And so it was really cool. What I did is I asked each of the 6 children in the class to pick a country. This is before I told them what we were going to do with it.
Right.
And so one was watching Saudi Arabia, one was watching Canada, one was watching Ireland, and we had a huge diverse range of countries. And we were looking at the change in population bubbles as well. So look at China, woo!
Oh my goodness. Oh, I
And
see.
India as well. It's just so cool. Yeah. Um, and you can also change, so that's population, and it's got they wanted to see, now where is it? They wanted to see murder statistics. Is that society?
Cracky.
Yeah, murders. They wanted that. So we did look. I don't think we used this chart. Which one did we use? Maybe we used rankings.
So this is just to tell everyone else as well. This is Hans Rosling's.
Oh
Who
yeah,
is a famous statistician. Presented data in a very accessible, presentable way, and he's got a book called Factfulness, and this is his website,
yes.
Gapminder.
Okay. Yeah, this is. I'm not getting the right stats here. Let's see, because some of the data is missing. Because obviously, not every country is going to say this is how many murders we have. But actually, and then we found poisonings, and we found was this rankings murders, total deaths. I think the South American countries don't do too well in this. We found some countries poisoned, and some countries used, guns. So it's an amazing website. It's definitely a good one to play around with the different charts. Oh, if I clicked something, yeah, that's another bubbles. This is a good one as well. Life expectancy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the big one's China, but oh yes, and it'll show you the different countries. So this is and to see the kids just get so excited, we were all squealing.
It's dynamic. It's beautiful. It's colorful.
So
It's moving. It's like
amazing.
it's exciting. It's not black and
And it's
white.
maths.
Yeah.
It's maths.
And it's maths. Yeah.
And it's real mathematicians. With our limited knowledge, we can access this, but real mathematicians have spent years on these kinds of statistics and like generating them and coming up with programs to share these. It's like so I thought that's the tool I'm in love with. I'm into interactive charts now. It's my new hobby.
Yeah, it's dynamic charts. They are like
Charts.
like bar graphs, etc. Don't have to be static. Like there's loads of them on YouTube. Like this, like GDP of a country, population of like the ranking, and the bars are like racing against each other.
Yes.
And I love them. Like with the music going, like, it's gonna be like multi-sensory, and it's still a bar chart, really, isn't it? So, but it's such a different, like that dynamic, changing thing. That's how we respond to, and that's what technology is bringing in, things that were never before possible. And the screen interaction actually enhances that process. You can do that like directly,
Exactly.
in a way. Fantastic. Okay, so so you run. I know you have a really large Facebook group on Maths Insider. I had no idea there was that many people on there, and a website called Maths Insider. And so you could tell us about what you do there and how it can help other people. Yeah.
Yeah, so the website, I haven't blogged, I haven't updated the blog for a long time, but so because I'm always on Facebook, it seems, I've set up a Facebook group for parents, so I share some resources, they can ask questions. So that's the Maths Insider community, is that what it's called? If you go to Maths Insider on Facebook, there's a link there, you'll see my face there, welcoming you to the group, so you can connect. You can connect with me there. I'm usually found in Maths Tutors UK as well, in the comments, and sometimes sharing things, some resources, and in Ultimate Support for Online Tutors as well. I'm not on Twitter. I am on Twitter, but I can't use it because there's just so much on Twitter. I can't drink from that fire hose. But I do like to follow other people who are on Twitter so that they kind of feed it back through Facebook as such.
Yeah.
So, but Twitter has like so many resources. I just love the way, I was saying to Atla, I was connecting with an American maths educator the other day. So it's like being online and just connecting with people and just comment on their things and just have a conversation with them. And, you know, it can open up so many different avenues. It's really good meeting, you know, speaking and meeting with all these people, whether virtually or in person.
Yeah, exactly. And like this is the very rich way of communicating. Like I was thinking about live streaming for a long, I mean, I've been live streaming since about 6 years, but like now the things have changed so much that live streaming really is almost necessary. I think it adds so much value. But like whatever medium you're communicating with, try to have a video call with them, like if you really want to learn from them, because once you get face to face, it's pretty much like having a coffee with someone, like sitting right next to them. So you get this really rich interaction, because you could like spend ages trolling through Facebook posts or Twitter. Like Twitter is a 140 character thing. It's good for like headline stuff and a little bit of chatting, but really when it comes to learning stuff properly, you have to either turn up to a CPD day, to a conference, or to a meetup. So try to get to do that stage as soon as possible, because like this thing in itself can give you the illusion that you're actually learning stuff, which you can a little bit, but you really want to make it into a, like, you know, we are designed as humans to be social creatures. We socialize, we learn, like learning is a social thing. I mean, we won't learn from someone we don't like. You know, it's simple as that, whether it's a tutee to a tutor, or a colleague taking CPD from another colleague, you know. So that just make it as human as possible. Just put yourself out there, and
I just wanted to share one thing. So I was showing this to a student, just talking about my general life. Someone was talking about something to do with COVID-19, and I just found this. I'd seen this before, the correlation versus causation. So about wearing masks and whether or not it has reduced, because Chinese people, the Chinese community, or, you know, population, they're used to wearing masks, so that's why their numbers went down. And, you know, yes, I have worn a mask when I go out, but does it mean everyone should? And I shared this with somebody to say, a number of people who drowned by falling into a pool, and films Nicolas Cage appeared in, so you can see it kind of, yeah. I do like my maths memes, and especially if they're clever like this. I will stop the share, sorry.
No, that's a great image.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's really good though. It's like obviously, yeah, causation and correlation, and something that's capturing, it's close to the students' world. They're watching films all the time.
Yeah.
I'm utterly rubbish at films because I don't watch films, but I like the music, so my stuff is all music based. I know.
It's all music based. Yes.
I ask your children about music stuff all the time, but because that's the way I teach, and you're into your film, so you'll use films. So, you know, we bring everything to whatever you have to the table.
Your interests, what you're excited about, because even if your student's not excited about it, they'll see that you're excited about it, and they'll learn something about it.
Yeah, that social thing is it's like addictive. Like your enthusiasm is addictive. No, yours is like you're excited about this chart. I've seen that. Like you post videos, and you cannot help but be drawn by it. And that's you know, that brings like, yeah, if you're not into it, how can someone else be into it? So you've got to like really bring it whichever way you're into it in your own personality to the student.
And even that resource, I don't know if you shared it. I think you shared it about the etymology of maths terms. So I'm always saying percentage. Per means out of, percentage is with 100. And it's just like, I love breaking down those maths terms and saying, look, I'm teaching you English. I should charge you double, as such. So it's just like, just making the maths really interesting and showing how it links to so many cool things.
It's an interconnected web of ideas. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, well, we can wrap up on this.
We'd better, because my son's got to play Fortnite.
Yes, we can't deprive him of Fortnite, because yes, I've got him tomorrow, I think.
tomorrow.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'd better go because he won't get up for your lesson.
both mum and the tutor are conspiring against his fortnight. I think we'll both be in trouble. So we,
Yes.
we better give him his fortnight fix.
Yeah, but I'll hop into the Maths Tutors and Ultimate Support group and see if anyone has any questions I can reply to as well.
Yeah, no, you've been immaculately helpful, and we're on Twitter as well, so I can, if anything comes up on Twitter, I can show that to you. But yeah, yeah, that's thanks. Thanks very much for your time and your
I've
expertise in
enjoyed
this.
it. Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's keep
Yeah.
doing it. I'm all up for it. Like this is, to me, this is the best use of my time because I'm getting people message me, how do you teach online, how do you do this, how do you do that, can you train me online. I simply don't have, I don't have the time. So but I do, I mean, I don't even have the time for this really, but I'll make the time and I'll do it because this is the best way of using my knowledge, because my
Of
world
course.
is interacting with other people on screen like this using all the tools. And then you have a video of it that you can play as many times as you want and just focus on the bit or that you're interested in. So
Yes.
this is the best use of my time, I think, at the moment. So yeah, let's keep doing it. Yeah,
So thank you, Atul.
brilliant. So bye from London, and see you next time. All right,
Okay.
I'll stop streaming now, and then I'll have a chat with you when we stop
Yeah.
streaming as a goodbye.